Well, we're picking up right where we left off last week, reworking the Village of Grapevine. So last week we just kind of did an overview. We just sort of looked over what needs to be done out here. A little bit of this is repair, because this village was built, what, 4 years ago?
Yeah, about 4 years ago you started. Yeah.
And it's it's a little worse for wear, so we're going to be cleaning up some of the problems, but also enhancing it.
Right.
As Walt Disney would have said, plussing it.
Oh, yes. Well, this right here really reminds me of Disneyland.
I don't mind.
No.
In fact, the whole area out here is meant to be sort of whimsical. Inside, we try to be very scale, and out here, we're just having some fun with it.
Right.
But you can see here the damage and just some of the problems. And I also never quite finished the thing when I built it several years ago. I had bigger plans, but, well, this is as far as it got.
Oh.
Now, first up, a little change. The red building, I wanted to move it a little further to the right, opening up the space between the red building, which we're now calling the haberdashery, and the depot, because I think another structure needs to be tucked right in here.
Yes.
And I was thinking a bathroom.
Oh, of course.
Because I don't think there are public restrooms in the depot.
No, there's not.
So anyway, the same people who made the depot, Pola, also make some bathrooms to go with the depot, and they make an American version and a European version, and I
was going to say something, but I am going to keep quiet.
Okay, well, European. At any rate, I think the European version is a better looking, and it fits the look and feel of Grapevine Village more.
It does.
And it comes in matching colors to match the depot.
That's important.
Because I don't like to paint things out here any more than I have to because the paint comes off.
Right.
And so I'd rather keep them in the cast plastic color directly from Pola.
Exactly.
And this one popped up on eBay. It's really beat up.
Oh.
But, I don't mind
No.
because I actually get a kick out of resurrecting something like this.
Exactly.
So we bought that, and that's what we're going to use.
Back to basics, right?
Now, as I knew the size of the building, I was using various placeholders here to try to figure out the spacing with the red building, and then coming to the conclusion that I just wasn't going to be able to figure out the massing of this whole thing until I actually had the building here. So, well, I just needed to find something else to fill in some time because this was in transit.
Exactly.
So I decided to take a day and repaint the Wayne gas pump.
Oh, boy.
And, of course, a day actually turned into a week.
That's the way these things go.
But I got it done.
Yay! It looks a lot better.
I'm very happy with it.
Yes.
And then the light comes on and everything works. And so now back to the railroad.
Oh, did the mail come yet?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes. And here's our lovely new bathroom.
Oh, there it is.
And it does fit neatly between the buildings, and it looks good there.
It sure does.
And the colors match.
Yeah, perfectly.
Now, I need to figure out just how far I want to move the haberdashery to the right, and what the spacing between the buildings is going to be over here. Do I want a narrower space here between the haberdashery and the bathroom, a wider space? What's going to look best? What should the spacing be over here between the depot and the bathroom? But there's this little open area here. If I don't tuck the bathroom right up against the depot platform, and I'd rather just tuck that right in.
That looks a lot better.
And I think the spacing actually looks better. And
It does.
It creates this wonderful, mysterious little 3-foot wide alleyway that goes back into some space back there somewhere.
Yeah, a river or something.
Yeah. Something fun and inviting. And over here between the bathroom and the haberdashery, that opens up a wider space. And so I was thinking a lovely gravel path with a shrubbery on each side.
Oh.
We'll have to contact Roger the Shrubber.
Oh.
If you know the movie. On a more serious note, I have always felt that the proportions and the exact placement of things are so critical when you're designing anything, but especially your model railroad. There's an exact right place for the buildings and the proportions between them. And that's why I really needed to have this building in hand before I could make these decisions.
Right.
And I also needed to have these buildings placed before I could figure out the reworking of the lights, because I need to put the light inside the haberdashery and one inside the bathroom. And if I don't know exactly where those buildings are going to be, I can't very well put the light there.
No.
So now that everything is in place exactly where it belongs, I can proceed to do the lighting. Now, as I mentioned last week, when I first wired all this, I used LEDs. And I just don't care for the color.
No.
They're LEDs, well, it depends on the LED, but so many of them just have this nasty color.
Right.
And these were supposed to be warm LEDs, and they're kind of blue-green. So I tried putting filters on them, and that just made them more green.
Ooh.
So my plan was to just start all over with that. And I want to go to the 5mm screw-in base because, first of all, it's got a lovely little stanchion to hold the light up off the benchwork, but I can then change out the light bulbs whenever I want.
Oh, that's a really neat idea.
I can put an LED if I want, I can put an incandescent,
right.
and I can have a whole bag of different kinds of lights, and I can just choose one that I like.
Exactly.
And a while back, we found this glass paint kit.
Yes.
And for doing stained glass and stuff, you used it on several projects.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it works great for painting light bulbs.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I used the orange, and I used the red, and there's a yellow. And you can tint the bulbs and come up with different colors other than the colors that the bulbs actually are.
Right.
Now, I took out the LED that was in the depot, and I actually replaced that with 2 of these 5mm screw-in bases.
Oh.
So one is in the bay window, and then the other's in the waiting room.
Ah.
And then, because I'm thinking maybe even a little partition sort of between the rooms at some point.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then you could even use slightly different colored bulbs.
Right. So what's this black and red wire sticking out?
Well, you got me that neat sign light thing, the Locomotive Joe light.
Oh, right.
And so that's actually mounted to the building.
Oh.
And since I need to be able to remove the building, I put it on a plug.
Oh, neat.
So I've just unplugged it and set the building aside. And then when I set the building back in place, I just plug that back in.
Well, that's nifty.
There seems to be a problem in the bathroom.
Yeah, sewer gas.
The wall is glowing.
Yeah, that'll do that.
You don't want the wall of your bathroom to be glowing.
No.
What I've done here is I tucked the light bulb right up against the wall because when the doors are open, I don't want to see the light bulb out in the middle of the room.
No, that would just look funny.
And so I thought, well, the only place that you can't see it is if it's tucked right up against the wall between the 2 doors.
Yes.
And the plastic's really thick, so I didn't think it would... but no, it glows.
It glows right through. Well, there's a real easy fix for this, and you use a little tiny piece of that metal repair tape or foil tape. I've done this on several of my projects, and it works really well.
Now here's the aforementioned Locomotive Joe light.
Oh, those are neat. I like those.
We've got that lighting up the sign here on the depot. I'm going to change out the sign from Clear Creek to Grapevine.
Oh.
But we've used, I don't know, maybe 10 of these lights in various locations around the railroad. We've got 3 of them over here at the Nevermind.
Right.
And we've got several inside. And I plan on adding 2 more out here on the cast backdrops.
That is neat.
And boy, that just looks great.
I love it.
I love these Locomotive Joe lights.
Oh, they're good.
So I'm putting one here over the hotel sign, and then another one above the saloon sign.
Right.
Bell's Place.
Yes.
Just as an aside here, people keep asking, where in the world did you get these cast backdrops?
Right.
And they're Burwood wall hangings from the 1970s.
Right. They were really popular at one time.
And they're all over eBay, and you can just find them on there. Just search for Burwood wall hangings in plastic.
Yes.
Now, I also want to add several lanterns around the village. These little sort of barn lanterns.
Yes.
And so I thought one here at the saloon would look really cool. And then I want to have 2 down here on the barn.
Right.
Because you can't have a barn without a barn lantern.
That's right.
And there's 2 really nice places here on the barn where I think a lantern would look really great.
Just keep it outside so Mrs. O'Leary's cow doesn't get a hold of it.
And then a 4th one at the sheriff's office. Because the sheriff is down this little alley, and I think that's one of the neatest places in the village.
Yes.
And, of course, the sheriff's never around. But, that's the sheriff's office down the little alley. He should have a lantern hanging by his door. Now, I'm actually making the lanterns using these flickering LEDs. I bought a bag of these.
Oh, yes.
Like 100 of these yellow flickering LEDs. They make great lanterns. And I also cast up a whole bunch of lantern parts on the casting machine about 6 months ago. And if you chop the top off of the LED, being very careful to not destroy the LED doing it,
right,
and sand that flat, and then you can glue the top of the lantern to the LED.
Yes, it's really neat.
And because these are just raw LEDs, it necessitates that you use a dropping resistor or you burn the LED up.
Right.
Now, I also decided to use 30 gauge hookup wire and just solder the 30 gauge wire to the leads on the LED so that I could drill very small holes in the backdrop and then just pass the 30 gauge wire through that, and then the lantern just sits there on the side of the backdrop.
Right. Oh, look at that.
And the leads of the LED just hold it in place, and the plastic keeps the 2 sides from touching each other and shorting out.
Well, that's really cool.
But I had to use very small wire to pull that off. So I got some 30 gauge wire wrap wire.
Oh dear, that's like a human hair.
Yeah, it's small. And then when I attached it to the lighting bus under the benchwork, I had to remind myself, put the dropping resistor in the circuit, put the dropping resistor in the circuit. Otherwise, I'm going to hook it up and promptly fry my lantern.
Oh boy.
Anyway, 4 lanterns built and 4 lanterns installed, and they're working just fine. And they look great.
That's wonderful.
On to streetlights. Now, we mentioned last week that we were having trouble figuring out something that would be the right size. And LGB makes one that's the exact right size. And so we said, well, they're a little bit pricey, but let's buy 2 of them.
Yeah.
And used off of eBay, they weren't that bad. They did, however, come in 2 different colors.
Oh, dear.
Because we got it from 2 different people, so I just decided to paint them. And anyway, I think the bare plastic doesn't look as nice as a nice coat of paint on there.
And that should help preserve them, too.
And another nice thing is they, too, use the little 5mm screw-in base. And so this huge bag of lights I've been collecting and LEDs and so on, I can use those in here, too. So I was able to go through my bag of lights and choose 2 bulbs that have the same color, because they all tend to be a little bit different, and I wanted them to match. And we had already figured out where we wanted them. We tried them in a lot of different places, but we came to the conclusion that they look best here. And so I went ahead and drilled the holes and pulled the wires down and just hooked that up to the lighting bus.
I really like the way they fit in with the backdrop. They really look like they belong.
And they are the exact right size.
Oh, they're perfect.
And I chose bulbs that were a little bit brighter than the other ones, but they still have that wonderful, warm, incandescent glow. And I just think that looks so much better.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And with that, everything's installed and hooked up. And now all we have to do is wait for the sun to go down.
Right.
We'll see how this looks in the dark.
Oh, it's going to look really good.
Well, we still have a few things to do here at Grapevine Village.
Oh, we do.
Sidewalks and a few things. And I hope you want to follow along with those shows. And so if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And you can do that by clicking on the upcoming blue button. Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here on Tuesday.
Right.
We'll see you then.
We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.